Good morning, it's Tricia with Easy Emini Trade, and I want to go over the setups for last week. I'll go over Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Wednesday I didn't have the room. I had a plumbing emergency, so I did not open the room on Wednesday, so I'll go over the setups that we did have on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Also doing a webinar on Thursday the 25th this week at 8 p.m. and I'll be going over the counter channel continuation setup, the kaboom, and how to find support and resistance areas. And seating is limited. I do have a cutoff through GoToWebinar, so it does reach maximum capacity. So if you're interested, please sign up early, and anybody who does register will get the recording. Okay, so let's go over these setups and see if that helps. Okay, so as usual, we'll do the NQ. It's just easiest because that's what we do spend the most time on in the room, but I like the Russell and some other things as well, but we'll do the NQ. So here's our open right here, and so waiting for a direction off the open. We do get our opening range trade set up right here, so it triggers for a short, so we take it. If it wasn't part of your plan, if you weren't interested in the opening range trade, then you do get a 3 Amigo here at 946. The entry at 946, you would just have to decide what you're going to do around news. And the same with the opening range. It didn't trigger, it actually triggered before 945, so again, up to you what you're going to do otherwise. If you don't trade on the news, then you'll just be waiting for it after. Look for a way to get in after the news. So 3 Amigo here at 946. We do get a counter channel set up right here at 1012, but it's a pass for me. Not interested in taking a short right above the close of the previous day, so nothing that I'm willing to do there. We do get a MACD set up. And you could have entered in on either one of these bars at 1018, but once again, they're setting up right in the area of the close, and if you look to the left, it did hang in that area, so I would not be interested in taking those kaboom setups at 1018 until it could get away from this area here of the close. And here this would be considered a pullback entry, and everything's not quite in line to take that until right here at 1028, and then you would have to use the low of the previous day. That's this orange area. At least I would have to be aware of that area and use that as the area that I would be expecting price to hold. If you get the counter channel set up or the kaboom set up, on the NQ, anything other than the 3 Amigo, just be aware of support and resistance and where you might get hung up, and just make sure that you've got enough room to those areas. Then we're pretty sideways and nothing really to do there. You could do some range trades if it fits your plan, which is buy off support, sell off resistance. But again, you want to make sure that the range is large enough to trade. At 1108 we get a 3 Amigo setting up, and we get in, and right after we get in, we get a tick extreme, which worked out okay. Generally, if we get a tick extreme before our entry is triggered, then I cancel my order and then just wait to see if the setup is still valid until after the tick extreme. And then, let's see. We won't go over lunch. Then we get back at 1:30, and we're kind of changing those hours around a little bit too. 2:03 we get an Amigo setup, and unfortunately it turned into a loser. What I want to point out to you is that if you have an area that price is going sideways in and keeps hitting support and resistance, for the Amigo, for myself, I'll take it at least once, and then if it fails, then I won't try it in that area again until it can get out of the area. Also, again, the thing about volume is, sometimes you just don't know. The volume is light, and then, price takes off, and then the volume increases. So sometimes you just can't tell. This just as easily could have turned into a move like this. So that's the issue. You just never can tell. So if you trade on in the afternoon, we haven't really had many issues in the afternoon, but last week we did have a loser in the PM as well as the week before. So still not enough to be concerned about, but if it persists for the Amigo, firing off when there's nothing going on, and then it fails, then I'll have to come up with a way to stay out of that. But for now, not too worried about it. Then we get an Amigo here, it's a no trigger. Then we get an Amigo here, and it's a no trigger. And by no trigger, I mean I've got my sell stop under the setup bar, and it never triggers on the very next bar. Same here. So for me, that's a cancel of my order. And that's generally what we get when we are going sideways, especially on the NQ. So don't know why this one triggered, but it's just the way it is sometimes. Here at 310, we get an Amigo firing off, and this one, our order had not been placed yet when we got the tick extreme. So you wait for the tick to retrace, and then if the setup is valid, then you get in. And it was, so you get in above this bar here, and away you go. If you were concerned about it, you did get an opportunity to take a counter channel setup here, and you would be looking at the area above you of the previous day's high as the area where you might get stuck. It doesn't, and it keeps going, so that's always nice when you get a little more than you anticipated. And here is Tuesday. So again, right off the open, let it figure out what it wants to do. And we actually did get a trigger for the opening range buy right in this area here. And you just have to decide what you want to do on news. Are you willing to still take that setup with news at 10? It's totally up to you. We do get a 3 Amigo at 9:52, and again, we've got just that news at 10, so you just have to decide what you're going to do. And I know I keep saying that, but ultimately the risk is yours, so the decision is yours. 10:16, we get a counter channel setup. But keep in mind that support and resistance areas you're going to want to pay attention to. Now, this obviously at this point, we haven't traded here on so far in the morning, so we don't really know, other than pre-market. But this 2748 is a really strong area of support and resistance on the daily chart. So I opt to pass on that and wait till we get through that. Or I would take a 3 Amigo, because like I said, 3 Amigo, not too worried about support and resistance areas. And we do get a 3 Amigo here at 10:56, and works out fine. If you didn't take that, you did get a counter channel opportunity as well, as it was breaking out above this area here, and worked out fine. You had to sit through a little more wiggles on the counter channel before you got your first target of 2, because it didn't trade through it. Basically, your entry would have been 52.75. This got to 54.75, so it would have needed to trade through 54.75 to 55, likely to get you your 2. So you had to sit through this retracement here, which then eventually you did get your 2 points out of the counter channel. The Amigo, no problem. You got it right here. 11:22, another counter channel setup. Works out really well. And then lunchtime, then you have to decide what you're going to do. You do get a pullback entry here if you're trading during lunch after this move higher. You do get a pullback here. And the thing about pullbacks is it doesn't have to be an entry above or below the exact bar, you can use, usually within a few bars, you can usually pick it, pick your entry. And then let's skip ahead to the afternoon. The afternoon we took a counter channel setup at 210 here, and it was risky because it was against the trend, and you'll see I put risky here, but I felt pretty comfortable in taking it, expecting price to find its way back down into this same area here to the left. So it did work out okay. We did get an Amigo here at 235, and it set up kind of quickly, but I passed on it before it set up. I'd already told everybody that I was going to pass on it because of the light volume. So that was a pass. If somebody took it, they did have plenty of opportunity to get out at their entry or a little better than their entry while price wasn't going anywhere here for this half hour. I would never personally sit in a trade for a half hour unless I was already profitable. So if I'm sitting in this and I'm not profitable yet with my 2 points, I'll just take less. Usually 15 or 20 minutes is my patience threshold. But if it's not going, then like I said, I'd be thrilled to get out with a tick or two to cover my commissions. We get an Amigo here at 307, no trigger. And counter channel here if you're trading after 330 at 337. Okay, and this is Thursday the 18th. Here's our open right here. And wait for something to happen, or you take the opening range trade. It sets up to for a short and works out fine. Then we've got news at 10, and even if you were willing to trade on the news, we did get an Amigo right at 10 o'clock, but this happened way too fast. There's a few bars missing here. There's no way that you could have gotten in that fast enough. So even though it set up and it would have worked out, there's no way that you could have gotten in if you were going to take it on the news. And here at 10:06, took a counter channel setup, and looking to the left, we're pretty sideways, but I felt pretty confident that it would find its way back down to this support here, this 56.75 vicinity, because it held numerous times pre-market. Then once we opened, it held, so I felt pretty comfortable in taking that. And so unfortunately, with this trade, it was just luck of your fill. I got stopped out by a tick, and many in the room held on by a tick. So unfortunately, it just depends on your fill getting in. So for me, it was a loser, but for many in the room, it turned out to be a winning trade. We did get a 3 Amigo here at 10:15, and it's just not my lucky day, that's for sure, and getting in anyway. This happened really quickly, so generally, like I said, I always like to put a buy stop or sell stop below the setup bar. So I put a sell stop under this bar as it's forming, and what happened was it actually formed really quickly, so I couldn't get my order in fast enough. So I placed my sell stop, and price already traded through it, so then it turns into a limit order if while you're placing it, price already trades through where you're trying to put a sell stop or a buy stop. And price would then have to trade back up to your entry, and it did trade back up to my entry, but it never filled me. I never got filled on that. So again, it was going to be, luck of the trading gods. Did you get filled or didn't you? Worked out nicely if you were able to get in. If not, then you can just wait for the next setup. I mean, there's not much else you can do. You can't get mad about it. That's just trading. There's not a thing you can do about it. Then lunch, so let's just skip through until we get back, and we get back here. 1:39, we get a 3 Amigo, and it was a no trigger, and you can decide what you want to do on those no triggers. You can decide to take a late entry as long as the 3 indicators remain green for the Amigo. And if you're using a standard indicator, just make sure that the 3 of them are heading higher. And then you can then put a sell stop under the next bar or the next bar. I'm not one for taking a late entry because I'll just let it go and then I'll look for another way in. You do get a pullback here, but not interested in trying to take a pullback entry right above a support area, so I'm not interested in that as a pullback. Here we get a pullback at 154. That one looks a little better because we're away from that support area. And the thing about the kaboom is that I just want to remind you that if price is going sideways, you're not going to have that many kabooms unless you have room to support and resistance. Otherwise, just pass on them and take one of the other setups. Okay? I would definitely make sure that you've got enough room. 217, we get an Amigo setting up, and we know that we've got support and resistance around, but as I said earlier in the video, if it's setting up and we're sideways, I'm usually not too concerned about it. The afternoon's a little more so, a little more concerned, but I'll give it a shot at least once in those areas. So here's my shot at the buy, and it fails, so now I won't try another buy there until it gets through there. So loser at 217 as an Amigo. Then we get a counter channel set up at 229, and you would be looking at the general area here to the left of 29 to determine if you had enough room. We do, so you take it. If you didn't want to take that, we did get another opportunity if you weren't already in. We did get an Amigo firing off at 235, and there was a tick extreme on that, but I believe, and I can't recall, usually I take better notes. I can't recall if, because I was already in the trade, so I can't recall if the order, if you're already in and we got the tick extreme, or was a tick extreme and then you had to wait to see if it retraced. So sorry, I don't recall. Like I said, I usually take better notes. And also Thursday was that crazy Google day when the earnings came out accidentally early, and they put a halt on trading Google until 3:20, and so we were kind of sitting on our hands a bit coming towards 3:20 because that's when they were going to start trading it again, so we were unsure what to expect because it obviously died during lunch here when that occurred, so definitely was using some caution on that afternoon. So wasn't interested in doing anything at all at that point. But we do get an Amigo here at 309, and actually there was a tick extreme, and then it was an invalid setup if you use the tick to determine if you're going to take the trade or not. And we only concern ourselves with the tick extreme. 323, you get another Amigo. Again, you just have to decide what you're going to do with Google getting ready to trade again. You just never can tell. So it worked, but it just as easily could have been wild and whippy after that. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, send me an email. If you are interested in the webinar, just go to my site and choose the webinar tab. Have a great day.